Hello again, everyone, and welcome to another segment of Star Trek. I'm your host, Charlie DiNatale, and today we have the pleasure of being with a young and upcoming actor. His name is Glen Terry, and Glen, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And we're going to learn a little bit about you today, share with our audience some of the things you're working on, and a little bit about your background. So you and I spoke a little bit offline about where you've come from, where you are today. A similar story to a lot of young actors.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us a little bit about your background. Where are you from originally?
So I'm originally from Colorado Springs, and like I said, I've always wanted to be an actor ever since I was a kid, but only last year I decided to make the leap because I just knew I would regret it if I never did. And so yeah, from Colorado Springs to California, my parents, they have a few friends and family here, which was pretty much the only reason I was able to move out here, because at the time I didn't have any kind of plan of where I was going to live, how I was going to survive and eat and make money or anything like that. And so I was able to stay with my grandpa for a bit in Parrot Blossom.
Very nice. So when you say you wanted to be an actor ever since you were a kid, whenever I hear that, I always wonder, is there an influencer in your family who may have put that idea in your head, or was this something that just came natural to you as a kid?
This is definitely something that came more natural. I mean, all of my family, they're more creative driven, but it wasn't like I had anyone in my family who I thought like they're a creator, they're an actor or like a performer. It was more just something that I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. And I'm a nerd. I grew up on like Star Wars and Lord of the Rings and like superhero movies, and I wanted to be a part of that world. And so that's for me, that's what I want to do. Like Lord of the Rings, just running through the mountains of New Zealand with a sword strap like that.
So Colorado Springs, not necessarily the mecca of acting talent,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously everybody kind of gravitates towards Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Were you in high school, graduated high school, did you go to college in Colorado Springs and then determined to come to California? How did that go?
Yeah, that's essentially how it went. I mean, I was going to high school, I was doing a college prep program, so taking college classes and high school classes at the same time. At the time I made the decision to move to LA, though I had not quite finished my AA communications, which I obviously no longer need. But I was just pursuing the practical thing, education through college and doing jobs like EMT training, and then I just decided that I wanted to do something that I was more passionate about. Mm-hmm. And obviously the film industry is in LA, so mm-hmm. I had to come here.
How scary was that for you?
Actually, it really wasn't that scary. I was more excited about the move as opposed to nervous. Mm-hmm. I mean, and when I made the decision initially, like I said, I had no plan of where to stay or how to live, I needed to do it. I needed to make that change. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I was more scared of staying where I was and being stuck than I was of moving out here and trying something new.
So you come to LA. Now reality has to get in, right?
Yeah.
What are you going to do here in LA?
Exactly.
How are you going to pursue your acting? What kind of avenues are you going to look for? So tell us what that process was like for you.
Right. Luckily though, my cousin, he was a producer, and so he was able to give me some advice for a beginning actor, and so he showed me all the different casting sites that I could get on and start self-submitting for projects. He showed me where I could get good headshots and who to trust and who not to trust, and sort of just like a little skeleton outline of like, here's how you can get started for yourself. Obviously though, there's no clear-cut path for success, especially in this industry, so you have to figure it out on your own. But he was able to help me get started, just established, I guess.
Tell us a little bit about some of the roles that you actually have experienced so far, whether they've been in LA or Colorado Springs, or whether they be student films or whatever.
Yeah, so most of my experience is in student films or short films. When I had first moved out here, my first paid job was on ID Discovery, so just one of those little crime reenactment things. I played like the murderer of the show. And so yeah, it was like mainly focused on the people who actually experienced that, and then they had the little reenactment, which was me, so 12 seconds on screen, which my family saw and
That's always cool. That's always cool.
Yeah, she said she cried when she saw me getting arrested. Really, just little 10 seconds. But yeah, that was one of the first things I did, and then ever since then, it's like I'm trying to focus more on like gathering footage for my reels, because it is somewhat expensive because you can go and get a director to write a scene for you and they film that and then you can use that. Mm-hmm. But it's easier for me to just work and do it, and so I'm gathering that through short films, student films. And I actually have 4 or 5 roles, actually now 5 roles as leading character for just short films and student films.
Good.
So
Good.
yeah, it's a good experience.
So a lot of actors and actresses who come out to LA and they start experiencing little roles or student films and so forth, ultimately you must have a goal in your mind as to, is acting where you want to be, is writing where you want to be, is directing where you want to be, and if acting is your passion right now, where do you see yourself 2, 3, 4 years from now?
Honestly, you probably hear this a lot, but I want to do everything. But my acting is my primary passion and my focus. And I would say 2, 3 years from now, I want to be able to make a living doing what I love. Right now, I have to work a job, and I'm trying to get another job just so I can move to LA, where I'm more centralized and around the people of that industry. And you have to do things like that just to survive. But I want to, in 2, 3 years, my goal, my short-term goal is to just be able to make a living acting. Long-term, I would say, I want to do the bigger stuff. I mean, I don't really care about like the fame and fortune. Acting is my passion, and it's an art. I want to refine my craft and be better at it. I want to be the best that I can be. And wherever that takes me, hopefully, I just want to be successful.
So let's look at today.
Yeah.
I understand, if I'm correct, that you met someone that I know, a director named Sherry Wang.
Right.
And I understand that you are experiencing some projects with her right now. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty cool story. So the first project that I had submitted for Sherry was a project she had named Lost in Space, and I would have played Neil Armstrong.
Oh, wow.
And it was a really unique project. It was cool. She had like this little clip of Neil Armstrong, and she said just mimic this clip, and so that I did, and I sent it to her, and as soon as I saw the submission, I sent it to her, and so she's like, I like what you have, you got it to me really fast, but you're just a little too young for the role. And this was in the beginning of my time in California, so first time moving out, or within a month of moving out here. So she said she'd consider me for future projects. And then another project, I had sent her an email just to see like, hey Sherry, do you have any projects going on right now? And she did, and she was like, actually funny you asked, like do you think you look like this guy? So we were talking about that, but that was in Vegas and I couldn't make it at that time.
Okay.
And so then just recently, I was on Casting Frontier, submitted for a project, and it doesn't show you the director on those sites for some reason. And so she emailed me, she's like, hey, I saw you submit for this project.
She didn't know it was her.
I didn't know it was her, so I'm like, oh wait, so I just had to connect the dots real quick. It's like, oh, I didn't realize that was your project, and so that was fantastic that she knew me and like was able to recognize me through the little correspondence that we had. And she's like, yeah, if you can make it to Oceanside, I'll cast you. And I'm like, yes, absolutely, I can definitely do that. And I was really excited because it's been such a long time that we've had that sort of communication. And yeah, so I submitted a little self-tape. She's like, good, I like it. I like how fast you respond.
That's
and so
awesome.
I'm going to keep that up. And yeah, and I've been working with her on a project, and it's been absolutely, I love it.
So when you, and I ask this question a lot to young actors, even older actors for that matter, have you, do you emulate anybody? Have you looked at some people from the past? I mean, you can go back to the 1930s and 40s and look at actors. And
right.
Is there anybody that kind of like strikes your fancy that you kind of emulate?
For me, it's, especially since I was younger, and it's just always been with me, is Heath Ledger's performances. I love him as an actor, and I really do think that I don't know if this is like a prideful thing to say, I usually don't like how it sounds, but I think he reminds me a lot of myself.
Okay.
Like I watch some of his earlier films, and I think, gosh, I relate to him so much. Like he just loves acting. He just wants to go out and do it, and so that's what he did. And then when he became successful, like even then, when he was famous, he didn't try to go out for he was offered all these massive roles, but unless it was a character that he was personally interested in and he thought was fascinating, he wouldn't go for that role. And that's like, he truly loved his craft and he was good at it. And that's where I want to be.
It's interesting you bring up Heath Ledger, because not too long ago I interviewed a young actor, probably about your age, and asked the same question, and he brought up Heath Ledger as well. So
yeah.
I guess Heath Ledger, unfortunately he passed away, but he resonates quite a bit with young actors.
Yeah, I mean, I hear a lot of people like, yeah, Heath Ledger, I idolize him too. I'm like, yeah, I think it's a pretty common thing. It's just, ever since I was a kid, I just loved his performances. Like A Knight's Tale, that was his first big break, I watched that, and I mean, it's still my favorite movie to this day. And like, he was just so attached to the character, like he really does become his characters, and he truly does love the craft, and you can see it. And people will recognize that you don't have to be like this famous actor as long as you truly love the craft and you're working hard to do your best and you're just really kind, because he was a really kind person. That's why people were just drawn to him and
Right.
wanted him to continue working for them. And that's what I want to do.
Well, not to trivialize what you said before, but it sounds to me like you are on a path to being simply a working actor.
Yeah.
You know, and you mentioned the fact that fame and fortune isn't necessarily top of your mind right now, but certainly if it comes down the road and accolades
I
go
wouldn't
your way,
complain.
of course, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. So, having said that, now finally, as we wrap up here, where would you see yourself, let's say 5 to 10 years from now, and let's say you are a working actor over the next 2 or 3 years?
Right.
Like every creative person somehow always has something next.
Right.
You know what I mean? So what is your long-term vision?
Long-term vision, yeah, to be at the point where I can pick and choose my roles like Heath Ledger did, and I mean, really, all it takes for any actor is one major show, one movie.
Right place, right spot, right time, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, hopefully, down the road, like maybe I'll get a break and I'll get like a feature film like that or a show, and maybe that'll like just kind of break me through the top where I can just like people like, hey, I want Glenn for this role, I want Glenn for this role, and I can actually see like, I don't know if I like that one. That's where I want to be. So long term, 10 years from now, hopefully, that's the position I'll be in.
Okay, well, keep your eye on this young man. Glen Terry is his name. Glen, appreciate it very much.
Thank you so
Good
much.
luck to you, and thanks very much for joining us on the latest edition of Star Trek.